and it was always going to end like this. For the last century and a half,
That video had such a unique take on the hostile takeover that is happening in the government. At the end, he said something to the effect of they are taking over an empty husk, and they know that even if they take over this, local communities still function. The 3,000 counties still function. There are still 50 states and 50 state governments. And I wanted to connect this to something that my mentor said. I asked her about our mutual spiritual community. What if the greater organization went rotten? What would happen to our individual groups? And she said the individual groups would be just fine. In fact, the greater organization, World Services, has been kind of rotten for a long time. But our groups are autonomous. They decide if they participate, they decide if they donate up to the larger organization. And it reminded me that that is always how it is. A country is just a subdivision of people who have gotten together and said, we would like to create a larger thing in order for all of us to benefit from that larger thing. That is the only reason that a central government exists, in order to benefit those who live in the country. If the greater central organization becomes rotten and it does not resonate anymore with the individual people or the individual groups, they just don't donate their resources anymore. They don't attend the area meetings. They don't pay attention to what the large organization says, and they don't lend credence to its power. And I stood back and I realized this is always how it works. Name me a system that doesn't value the individual person or the individual building block and is able to stand. If you have a house and we come along and remove the foundation, you think that that house is going to stand? If you have a tree and we come along and cut out all the roots underneath, you think that tree is going to stand very long? How about if we take a person but we just don't feed them? We tell them to stop eating. Do you think that they're going to function for very long? Our current system is eating itself. Not only was the governmental system built on an idea of slavery being okay, but the economic system does not respect human value. It only extracts resources from humans and from Earth for profit. And that system will not stand, and it is currently in very quick decline. And the good news is, all we have to do is divest and direct our energy towards what we want to exist. And the system will dissolve all on its own. And the good news is it won't dissolve all at once. It will fall apart slowly in a way that we can really respond to its destruction. We will be able to build the communities that we want. And I'm shown over and over again in my intuition that what we will build is a large number of individual communities, decentralized but able to communicate. So the community building that you're doing now, you may think that you are doing it to help the movement along, to provide care services and support services for those who need to strike, etc. But what you don't realize is you are building your larger community for the future. And I think that's going to be beautiful. And I think that we're going to learn a lot. But I think it might just help you to remember that this is not going to be the work that people had to do in the 1960s. Because in the 1960s, you had a lot of outer structure that seemed to be powerful, that seemed to be working, and you really had to convince people. We don't have to convince anybody that things are bad now. It is on the surface, it is easy to see, and there's enough energy and support behind moving away, divesting. And a lot of the divesting is just emotional, mental divestment, moving away from legitimizing the central government as powerful or influential or important. And of course, be aware of what's going on, be informed to the extent that you want to expose yourself. But also recognize that we are swiftly beginning to turn towards our communities and legitimize them, and to delegitimize this government and this economic system that does not value humans, that doesn't value the individual well-being, and instead values large systems that try to control people and extract their resources.